recorded. So, for the purpose of just sharing the recording after this session, maybe we can share it in our website for people who are missing this webinar, so they can even visit and listen to our webinar. You are very welcome. We have two speakers today. We have Dr. Dennis Migusa, and we have also Dr. Simon Adebola from the USA. And Dr. Dennis Migusa is from Tanzania, but he's based in Tanzania, but he has got professional career in around the world. He's a speaker in various international conferences. With me, let me start with Dr. Simon Adebola. The two speakers will have 20 minutes presentation. 20 minutes presentation, and after that, then we shall have the round of Q&A session as a whole of the panel. Let me introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Simon Adebola. Dr. Simon Adebola is a physician and digital transformation expert who bridges healthcare, technology, innovation, and data science. After working with the pioneering team on Nigeria's first electronic public health information system, he pursued advanced engineering studies in France, launching a distinguished career across major UN organizations, including WHO, UNICEF, and the ITU. Dr. Adebola, as a CDC Public Health Informatics Fellow, he led crucial initiative integrating epidemiology, laboratory system, and analytics for US public health infrastructure, including serving as the acting policy lead during the 2015 Ebola response. His expertise spans the evaluation of major surveillance systems and the development of laboratory informatics frameworks adapted nationwide. Dr. Adebola academic credentials include an MPA in public policy from the University of Georgia, a master's in analytics from Georgia Tech, and diploma in strategy and innovation from Oxford as a certified project manager and cloud architecting. He has led clinical data analytics initiatives, saving over 40 million insured his clients. Currently, Dr. Adebola is a consulting and digital transformation expert for the UN and bilateral agencies. His research focuses on space applications in health, multimodal AI integration, and advanced analytics frameworks for global health. Fluent in English, French, and Yoruba, he brings a truly global perspective to healthcare and innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite Dr. Adebola to start his presentation. Dr. Adebola, you're welcome. You can share your screen and start presenting. Ladies and gentlemen, today is the webinar. We are trying to move and see and listen about the resilience of cybersecurity in our current system, and see the wide range of catastrophic risk which the future AI system can pose, environments. So our two speakers are going to highlight along those areas, and we're also going to see along the 2025 year, this current year, which are the coming trends of AI which we can expect in this year. Dr. Adebola, you're welcome. You can start.
Thank you very much, sir, and thanks for that kind introduction. Sorry, please, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, and can you still see my screen?
Yes, you can see your screen.
Yeah, so it looks like, I'm not sure if you'll still be able to, okay, I'll just go ahead and we'll take it from there. So this is the brief outline. Sorry, I put scenario one there. There'll be actually more than one scenario. But yes, this is the brief outline of today's presentation. And so when we talk about cybersecurity and artificial intelligence, it's important to understand what the attack surface is. I mean, in the context of cybersecurity, we use that expression attack surface to describe the range of vulnerabilities that the organization may be at risk of. So this covers data, model, infrastructure, application, and of course, we recognize that governance and assurance are a key part of ensuring success in preventing these vulnerabilities from becoming disasters, if we can call them that. I would say first, though, I would want to apologize beforehand. I could have done a better job coordinating with Professor Dennis just to be sure that I'm not overlapping with anything he's going to present. So please, I apologize beforehand, Prof, if I say something you you were planning to say, but thank you very much. Um, so where we were pre-2022 in our conversations about artificial intelligence was that, okay, AI was thought to be sort of a natural progression from different aspects of what machine learning was becoming of. Yes, I'm sort of driven in a sense by statistical machine learning. Now, I mean, that's one way to look at it. I mean, so because again, if you look at the conversation around AI that has been going on since the middle of the 20th century, there were conversations around taking human logic and encoding it into computers so that computers can do all, in a sense, reason like humans do. But that of course shifted with the advent of machine learning and deep learning. It opened up a new and it opened up a new way to approach these same problems, particularly as it had to do with human text, writing, images, and the like. Anyway, all to say that prior to 2022 and the advent of generative artificial intelligence, which in a sense was not even in the conversation um, prior to sort of the rapid explosion in natural language processing and development of deep learning and adversarial networks. We did not have all of that, but now we now use AI as a catch-all term for most aspects of what it was meant to be, or it used to be considered as a natural progression of, which is okay, as long as we all know what we're saying when we say AI, right? So that's very important. And sort of embedded in that conversation also used to be the way we used to think of this. So when we talk about business intelligence and analytics, we had, we had what we call descriptive analytics and then diagnostic analytics, and then moving on to that to predictive analytics, which is where a lot of the machine learning actually kicks in, and then prescriptive analytics, which had a lot of optimization involved, sort of operations research. And then we move on to what was meant to be sort of a far out goal, which none of us thought was going to be closed, and that was cognitive AI. But here we are today, and we are actually thinking deeply about reasoning within AI systems. So that's sort of the landscape of artificial intelligence. I gave a system model earlier, and I'm now just giving a historical overview. But just so you understand, when we say AI, these are the different kinds of methodologies that we are considering. And of course, there's that beyond what I just said earlier about that progression from descriptive to cognitive. We also have within that, focusing on the ones that are machine learning and AI, we have starting from the predictive and the prescriptive, we are now talking a lot about the generative. And generative in this sense means that it is able to create its own data. It is able to create images. It's able to create code. It's able to create videos. It's able to create text, of course. And so that itself has also now led to that a conversation about how do we redesign workflows to ensure that we can actually take the best of the predictive and the prescriptive, combine it with the generative, and have value essentially being created. Now, this slide, you're not meant to memorize it. You're not meant to read all of it. It's just a way of showing the progression of the conversation around agentic artificial intelligence. And what does that mean? And there's a lot to learn there, and there's a lot to know there. And I think the charge I'm leaving as part of this conversation is that we endeavor to be part of this, development, this rapid technological innovation, evolution that is, at least in my understanding, sort of unprecedented. And so let's keep moving along that. So to focus, I titled my presentation a SWOT analysis, and so I'm just going to be using that lens to discuss in two broad sections what we where I see the intersection of those two. Yes, Dr. Sosteni said, I have a medical background, but it's not, as I may not necessarily be focusing only on health in this conversation. So when we talk about risk management, and like why is that important? Because that's the end goal, right? We want to be able to, when we're looking at strengths and weaknesses, we look within an organization, and there within that organization, you want to be able to understand what its strengths are and what its weaknesses are. And so one of the key ways by which an organization can tackle the challenge of cybersecurity is ensuring that it has a strong risk management strategy in place. Um, and so these sort of flow along four steps: the framing of the risk, assessing the risk itself, deciding how to respond to the risk, and then monitoring the risk on an ongoing basis. And if I can just touch briefly on, avoidance, acceptance, mitigation, and transference are different ways. Avoid is when you basically, for example, refuse to collect national ID numbers because you don't want somebody logging into your beta database, taking people's national identifiers and going to open bank accounts in their name, right? So you use a different form of identifier like a state no, or create your own unique ID without collecting the national IDs. Now, we know that's not optimal, but you could avoid the risk, and on and on. You could accept the risk, you can mitigate it. That means try to do your best to reduce the liabilities, or you could just transfer all the liabilities to a third party or share that liability with a third party. Um, within that conversation around still keeping it within the organization, there are a number of regulations that are useful as we study this, as you study what exactly, how can an organization prepare itself to be able to deal with potential cybersecurity risks and artificial intelligence. The international standards organizations, they actually have a lot of standard documents, guidance and standards documents that they've released. This is just a sample of some of the more prominent ones, and there's actually a lot more on their site. Then, of course, the African Union had released its continental AI strategy, I think, middle of last year. The EU AI Act was the talk of everyone again around that same period last year. And then on the academic side, we have a number of guiding principles that have been evolved to address the question of ethical and responsible artificial intelligence. And there's FAIR and there's Future. FAIR talks about being findable, accessible, interoperable, reusable. But Future is, I'm just going to show you a little bit about that. That is actually from a study in the British Medical Journal, AI, Future AI, and you can look that up. But it says, AI within healthcare should be fair, it should be universal, it should be traceable, it should be usable, robust, and explainable. And these are all aspects that have their own in-depth conversation, none of which we're going to go into in much detail today, but just saying that when we design AI systems, we should recognize that they are part of a social system. And in essence, they should abide by social rules or social norms that build trust. Because essentially, if a system cannot be trusted, then it loses its value progressively and it may never even gain adoption. So it is up to us as we introduce artificial intelligence to ensure that we do not prize innovation over security, or we do not just pay lip service to the idea that systems should be kept secure. One of the studies, I think by IBM and AWS, showed that less than a quarter of those who are building AI systems are actually securing them, and that's a huge issue, right? Because it shows that on the corporate side, there's a desire to just move forward with innovation while not paying diligent attention to what else needs to be done to keep systems secure, safe, ethical, and the like. So I'll move on from that. These are These is not, I mean, these are from the guys at Google Cloud, and these are focusing really a lot more specifically on AI related risks and from an infrastructure. Remember that map I showed earlier, from a data infrastructure system standpoint, but is also meant to have a bit of the forward-looking approach there. So these are the safe. This is secure AI framework. How do you secure how do you secure your systems for artificial intelligence, right? Or when it is using artificial intelligence. And I think it's important to note that distinction, although we'll get to that a bit more in the weaknesses and in the opportunities and threats. You're securing your system because you're using AI. So you're securing it um, for we are securing it with artificial intelligence, but you're also securing it for artificial intelligence because the advent of artificial intelligence or advent of AI has significantly altered the threat landscape from a cybersecurity standpoint. So yes, so these are six principles, you could say, and they each touch on specific steps that an organization can take to ensure that its systems remain safe and secure. So moving on to the other side, again, within a SWOT analysis, we talk about opportunities and threats. And specifically, when we're dealing with opportunities and threats, we're looking at within the broader environment, sort of external to the organization. So what are the opportunities and threats? And I had a list of those, but I decided rather to craft stories around them. And if you care to know, I actually used AI, but I used a solid prompt. And we're not talking about prompt engineering today, but I would encourage each and every one of us to find time to do a decent prompt engineering class that helps you know how to craft prompts using artificial intelligence. That will give you the best results. So my list of opportunities and threats, I remodeled them back into stories. And I did not, I don't need to hide that. We do not need to hide the fact that we use AI. Like somebody said, and I'm going to just throw a few truisms out there. Somebody said is not going to take AI is not going to take anybody's job. Someone that knows how to use AI is going to take another person's job. That's one. Another funny one, but very, very, very salient, very sound one I heard recently was that AI is not taking anybody's job, or machines are not taking anybody's job. Machines are taking the jobs that they should have had all along. Essentially, the tasks that are sort of routine, mundane, that do not necessarily take full advantage of human intelligence. Those are the ones that are being codified and passed on to machines that machines are now taking on. So maybe they should have had those kind of tasks all along while we devote ourselves to higher order activities that help to drive civilization forward. But that's just one way of looking at it. So I'll go ahead and talk about. Sorry for those for the bleeding of the thing there. So AI threats, right? These is just an example of the kind of threats that could happen when you have an artificial intelligence system installed. Of course, we know about hallucinations within generative AI. PII is personally identifiable information. So name, first name, last name, gender, date of birth, um, and the like, right? National identifier numbers and the like. Model weaponization is when somebody takes your model, is able to influence or intrude on it and use it against the organization. And we'll get to that in the scenarios that I talked about earlier. So these are just some of them. Now, just to identify that some of these are classic risks, right? We've always had some of these problems anyway when using technologies, right, of different types. Software, I've always had these vulnerabilities. The difference, however, is that with AI, the scale and the sophistication, or reverse order, the sophistication and the scale has increased tremendously. And so we have to prepare for that world. I mean, you hear some of the conversations around quantum technologies, and it's not necessarily meant to scare us. It really is meant to, again, give us sufficient time to start preparing. What would a world look like where we have threats that are immensely sophisticated in comparison to what we've ever had to deal with? So these are the scenarios, and because of time, I may not be able to go into all of them in detail. But I'll just read through them. I know if your company, Busara Tech, develops a machine learning model for financial fraud detection, and recently your fraud detection systems have shown a gradual but significant increase in false negatives. False negatives, as you know, are say, for example, you give credit loans or microcredit loans, or you give people, yes, deferment of payments, and you are meant to find a way to determine which customers are likely to be risky and which ones are not. If it keeps telling you that risky customers are not risky, then there's a problem. That company is eventually going to lose some money. So it's allowing fraudulent transactions to pass through undetected. So an internal investigation reveals that someone has compromised the training data pipeline, subtly poisoning new training data by mislabeling certain transaction patterns. So this is a classification problem, right? Logistic regression. And in there, essentially, you use your or supervised machine learning, as we call it. So you use your training labels to determine in what, to help your model learn on the data and help it train its classifier. So when this tampering was detected earlier, because because the changes were introduced gradually over 3 months, so it wasn't detected rather, causing model drift that appeared organic at first glance. So model drift is a natural symptom or attribute rather of machine learning models. Not to go into detail here, what would you do in this kind of situation? And we could talk about that, but I mean, for now, I'll just move ahead. Just to say that if you remember in this risk management strategy, dot slide that I showed earlier, I had risk monitoring. So monitoring for model drift is one of those things you want to have in place if you have an AI-enabled threat detection system. This is another scenario you could consider. The health system uses an internal analytics platform that tracks employee productivity across departments, including in sensitive areas like patient care and pharmaceutical dispensing. And we all know why that is very important. Fraud, waste, and abuse is a big issue within healthcare systems and within the public sector in general, if you can say. Well, the idea here is that a well-meaning senior data analyst notices concerning patterns in the pharmaceutical department and exports detailed logs to work on them at home. Okay? Their personal laptop is compromised through an unsecured coffee shop network, and 2 weeks later, detailed employee activity logs containing patient identifiers appear on a healthcare whistleblower forum. Violating HIPAA is a US law, but it's basically it is meant to secure what I talked about earlier, PII, that is personally identifiable information, and exposes the company to massive liability, essentially what we call a breach. So you take your system home, or you have a question there and you say, what does this mean? And you copy it and put it into any maybe generative AI platform to explain, or somebody essentially infiltrates the network in this unsecured coffee shop and is spying on what is going on in this health system data analyst computer. So this is essentially a data leakage. So how can this be prevented, right? And like I was trying to explain earlier, that with artificial intelligence, there's been a massive increase in the sophistication of threat actors in using the technologies to attack. Anyway, keep moving. AI leveraged denial of service attack, or DDoS, distributed denial of service. So what it means, Simba Guard, your company's flagship software as a service security platform, uses API endpoints to process client security alerts and generate responses. Okay. Now, the platform begins experiencing intermittent performance issues. Analysts reviews a sophisticated DDoS attack where the attackers are using machine learning algorithms to identify and target the most resource-intensive API calls. The attack traffic patterns continually evolve to bypass standard mitigation techniques, and the system is learning which endpoints cause the most strain on your infrastructure. So you can see here what I was explaining earlier, that with artificial intelligence, we've always had DOS attacks, right? Some of them are due to faulty load testing when deploying your system. But now with artificial intelligence, the attackers have gotten way smarter in targeting they're not targeting the entire surface. They are figuring out which ones are going to cause you the most trouble, and they're targeting those with the DDoS attack, right? Because again, when you publish your API endpoints and things like that, you expose them. But you cannot do it. We cannot but do it because you need that to do business and information exchange. There's a lot about fire in healthcare we've been talking about. So that's just one. Anyway, because of time, I'll move through. This is a phishing campaign. Essentially, a lot of those in management may not be tech savvy. And here we have confidential intellectual property has been leaked. How? Well, somebody targeted an executive with an email that looked very secure. Clicked on the attachment and boom, entering their credentials, and now they have access into the system. I wouldn't even call this a backdoor. They basically just, were an imposter that walked in through the front door. Anyway, the company has lost a number of documents, and as a board meeting is approaching, you can imagine how much trouble that is causing. So that is part of the conversation here, how AI is intersecting with what was a classic attack. Phishing campaigns, smishing using SMS, and all the others have been for a long time, where imposters try to gain access. Okay, the last one is a deep fake crisis. And I'm using this because I know WhatsApp is very popular, and information starts spreading on WhatsApp, and there you are. It's a active social media presence that is being exploited, and it is causing trouble because the deepfake video is where somebody uses basically puts an authentic person's head on a fake person's body. That's a layman's way of saying it. Now with generative artificial intelligence, deepfakes have now become very, very realistic looking. Now there are signs you can look for to determine if it's real or not. But in this case, most people getting this on social media and watching it on their phones may not even have enough of the resolution to detect that this does not look natural. And oftentimes, all they need is just less than 5 minutes, really, of a person talking to be able to reproduce their voice and make them say almost anything. So here we are. This is just another example. So my recommendations and conclusion. Again, we could go into detail in each of those scenarios and talk about how we could deal with them, but I will just summarize that here. Comprehensive monitoring beyond your traditional metrics. Please verify your supply chain for data, models, infrastructure across your system. Defense in depth for data access. Track lineage, put proper governance in place. You must have adaptive response capabilities. Just as the threat actors are using AI, you must also learn to use AI to learn within your system the vulnerabilities that may exist. Then, of course, these are the remaining four. Because of time, I want to say thank you very much and look forward to the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adebola. We appreciate a lot for your effort and time and expertise you put in coming with a very impressive presentation, very informative. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the webinar on cybersecurity and AI in Tanzania and Africa in general. We will encourage you to drop your question and comment over the chat. And we are still having the second speaker, which will be coming on. It's called Dr. Dennis Migusa. Apart from that, this webinar is being co-organized by the Tanzania Health Informatics Association, in short, it's called TAHIA, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health Tanzania and the President Office, Regional Administration, Local Government, in short, it's called PO Large in Tanzania, and partners in Tanzania. Thank you. You're very welcome to this webinar, and feel free to give your comment and question and then recommendation over the chat. Let's listen to the second speaker, then we shall continue the Q&A session. My name is Sostenes Bagume, the President of TAHIA and the General Secretary of ERINA. Dr. Dennis Migusa, our second speaker. Dr. Dennis Migusa is the distinguished academic researcher and consulting engineer with over 15 years of expertise in artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, cognitive computing, computer vision, pattern recognition, neural networks, computational intelligence, ICT for development, and more. He has made significant contribution to shaping national, regional, and international framework, collaborating with the UN agencies, development partners, and the African regional bodies. As the executive director of the Africa Research Institute for AI, ARIFA, he leads innovative research in AI, publishing extensively in high-impact scientific journals. His work has earned his recognition as a thought leader in AI and technology. Dr. Migusa has supervised over 15 postgraduate students and mentored numerous engineers toward professional accreditation. He is a sought-after international speaker and industry expert, having received numerous accolades, including ICT Expert of the Year 2021 and 2022, Non-Profit Executive Director of the Year 2023 and 2024, Tony Limley Foundation African Entrepreneurship Program winner 2028, and Data Hack for FY and FinDislab 2028 finalist. His leadership extends to his roles as a leader in IEEE at the global level, regional level, Africa, Europe, and Middle East, and the past presidencies in Rotary clubs. He holds a PhD in image processing and a main in signal information processing, a being bachelor degree in computer science and engineering, and higher national diploma in AI and cognitive computing from prestigious institutions worldwide. Dr. Migusa is a member of several leading organizations, including FIDIC and APSPA, IEEE, IAENG, ANT, and several organizations. His leadership and the contributions continue to shape AI research and technology development globally. Tamigusa also serves on 5 prestigious boards as a chairman and board member. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite Dr. Migusa to start his presentation. Dr. Migusa, you're very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. I think my screen can be seen, right?
Sure. Proceed.
Okay. Then thank you very much. And I must appreciate the presentation from my colleague who has started all the way from Nigeria. Thank you, Doctor. Well, I will just go too fast because I have a lot to talk about, but time is very much limited. So I'm already introduced. My name is Dennis Mwigusa. And thank you, Mr. President, for giving me this kind of opportunity in order to deliver something which is related to the agenda that we have today. Yes, I'll talk a bit about RIFA, then giving a sort of introduction, but we also need to understand what really is AI and cyber security as well. But also I'm going to speak about the landscaping when we are talking of cyber security in Tanzania and Africa in general. But I'm also going to talk about AI in cybersecurity, then the challenges and opportunities as well of AI and cybersecurity in Africa. And lastly, then I'll give a call to action of what really needs to be done in order to make sure that now we move to the next stage. So yeah, I'm from ARIFA, that is Africa Research Institute for AI. We are actually based in Dar es Salaam, and this is what we do. We are conducting researches, but also doing capacity building, and we are also engaged in policy and governance in terms of advisory, but also reviewing the policies, but also coming up with the drafts. We have a combined experience of 1,000 plus years with different experts from different parts of the world. Now talking to AI and cybersecurity in Africa, of course, we understand that AI and cybersecurity are increasingly crucial for Africa's digital transformation and offering powerful tools for threat detection, but response and proactive defense against growing cyber threats. So while we are enabling sustainable economic growth and protecting a critical infrastructure, it is very important that we need to have a very good understanding in those areas. So well, in terms of understanding artificial intelligence, this is artificial intelligence. Is actually a broad branch of computer science, which actually aims to create systems. These systems that needs to function intelligently, but also independently, just like humans. So we are now trying to come up with a replica of a human being, but in terms of a machine. And these machines can imitate the human-like intelligence processes, like learning, reasoning, and self correction. So there are different types of artificial intelligence, and they are based on different aspects. We have those which are based on capabilities. There we are talking of narrow artificial intelligence or the weak artificial intelligence. But we also have the artificial general intelligence, which is commonly spoken, the AGI, but also there is a super intelligent. But we have also other types of artificial intelligence, which are actually based on functionalities. There will find the reactive machines, you will find the limited memory, the theory of mind, self-awareness, etc., etc. So from the drawing, what you can see, these also are subfields of artificial intelligence. We have the machine learning. This one actually aims to develop the algorithms that enable the machines to learn from data without explicit programming. So due to the rise of big data that we are experiencing and the technological trend as well, and the need to process and make sense of vast amount of information, here is where now machine learning comes. It has actually become increasingly important, and in machine learning itself is where you can find something like deep learning, as you can see, but also we have other aspects such as the supervised learning, unsupervised learning, etc., etc. But we do also have that cognitive computing, or in other words, you can say the expert systems. So this is where now you can be able to solve problems in a specific domain just by reasoning about knowledge, but primarily represented as if or then rules. Yeah? This one refers to machines, mimicking a human expert decision-making intelligence. So that is all about cognitive computing. But talking of computer vision, now you are aiming to teach the machines to interpret and understand the visual data. So this one includes things like object recognition, the facial recognition, etc., etc. So neural networks, this one actually is inspired by the arrangement and functions of the human brain. But the natural language processing, we are talking of teaching the machines to understand and generate the human language. Now we are talking of human recognition, of the language translation, text analysis, and some methods which are basically used in natural language processing. So cybersecurity, what is cybersecurity? This is a practice of defending computers, defending the servers, mobile devices, electronic systems, networks, and data from malicious attacks. And these are the things that directly related to cybersecurity. We are talking of network security, talking of operational security, the disaster recovery and business continuity, the application security, the end user education, information security, and so much more. So these are some types of cyber threats in the cyber security. We have the malware. This is just a software, malicious software, which is actually designed to disrupt or damage unauthorized access to computer systems. So it is actually used often by cyber criminals in order to steal data or extort the payments, or even to gain access to computing resources. But also there is that one, SQL injection. This is a code injection technique, which is actually used in order to attack the data-driven applications in which malicious SQL statements are inserted into an entity entry feed for execution. So phishing, you can see we have email phishing, the spear phishing, vishing and smishing. So those are different types of phishing. But here we are talking of social engineering attack. This is when attackers pretend to be legitimate entities. So they trick the victims into revealing some sensitive information. They are telling you now, we have your information, we have your password for this and that, through deceptive emails, but with the intention now of having access to those kind of systems in order to be able now to do the harm. But also we have the man-in-the-middle attack. Man-in-the-middle attack, this is also a cyber attack, where an attacker often secretly will intercept and possibly alter the communication between the two parties. And it is often, the intention is to steal the sensitive information, like the login credentials or the financial data. And the other one is that one, the name of attack, is also an attack where someone aims to make a server or a service unavailable to legitimate users by overwhelming it with traffic or request, effectively disrupting its normal operations. So now, coming to the landscaping in Tanzania and Africa, talking of cyber security, of course, I can say that Tanzania, to be specific, is ranking very good in terms of Africa. Is actually recognized as a leader in cybersecurity in Africa, and the GCI, this one means the Global Cybersecurity Index. So the report of 2024 by the GCI placed Tanzania in tier 1 for the region. And this ranking highlighted Tanzania, its commitment to robust cybersecurity measures, though there is still room for improvement globally, but at least I can say we are doing good, and we scored 90.58. So it is a good way to go. But in terms of global ranking, now we are placed in tier 3. So these tier 1 and tier 3, now we are talking of, for example, tier 1, this significantly is about leadership in cybersecurity efforts. So Tanzania secures the 2nd position in Africa. But now talking of in the global aspect, this one we are talking of expertise in terms of level security, professionalization, in terms of how we have specialized in advanced threat detection, in investigation, in incident response, etc., etc. But we have this TZ CERT. This is the Computer Emergency Response Team for Tanzania. I think it is under TCRA. So it is a very good initiative towards making better, and that's why I think we are regarded in one of the leading countries in Africa. So, well, these are types of cybercrime prevalent in Tanzania and Africa. We have the financial fraud. This is prominently emerging. It is taking diverse forms such as phishing that we have talked about, the online banking malware, the credit card fraud. It's happening in the country, in Tanzania and in Africa in general. So these are the deceptive practices that pose a very significant risk to the individuals and businesses as well, but eventually they do jeopardize the financial security. But also there is the cyberbullying. Cyberbullying, we are talking of harassment, the discredit, the violence, the intimidation, the attacking, the threats, the anxiety, disrespect. So all these things, they are coming from the cyberbullying and harassment. So the escalation of cyberbullying and harassment on online platforms is actually emerged as a critical issue in the country, especially in Tanzania. But these attacks transcend the digital limit. Significantly, they lead to impact the mental health, but also the overall well-being of individuals. So talking of the data breaches, now we are talking of hacking and leaking, which it has actually contributed to data breaches as well. It has compromised the sensitive information, but also led to privacy concern and potential identity theft as well. But talking of the ransomware attack, this one represents a growing menace in Tanzania. They have disrupted the businesses and critical infrastructure as well. So in these kind of attacks, there is a need for cyber criminals now to be sorted, for them to stop demanding the substantial payments, mostly in cryptocurrency, etc., etc. These are some of the things now that are coming. But talking of the scams in terms of cryptocurrency, it is also increasing in the country, but also in Africa. So here the cyber criminals, they exploit the allure of digital currencies to deceive individuals and businesses, leading to the financial losses. And the problem with this is you find that we do not have the very good knowledge about it. So it is very easy for someone to find him or herself in for it. So, but also offensive security. This is actually a proactive and adversarial approach to protecting computer systems, network, and individuals. But we do also have the defensive security. This one measures are focused on seeking out the perpetrators in some cases, attempting to disable or at least disrupt their operations. That's where you find now we have the defensive AI and offensive AI. So the defensive AI, this sometimes is called the blue team, but the offensive AI is called the red team. So the differences between the two is that you will find maybe in the red team, its role maybe will be to simulate the real world attacks to identifying weaknesses. But going on the defensive now, that is where you will find the protection, protecting the systems and response to threats. Now to the red team, if you expose the vulnerabilities and test the effectiveness of defense, then the blue team will now try to detect, to mitigate, but also prevent the cyber attacks in real time. So if you have the short-term engagement or specific attack scenarios in the red team, then automatically in the blue team, you'll have a continuous monitoring and long-term defensive strategies. So you can now be able to understand that talking of blue team, that means this is a good thing that is actually working to mitigate what is happening from the red team. Yeah, so we have some challenges that we are experiencing in AI and cybersecurity. The first challenge is about bias in training data and the algorithms. That is a very serious area that we also need to work on. Here we'll find that the systems inherit the biases from the data that are trained, but also leading to unfair or discriminatory outcomes. So this one can affect the accuracy, but also the equity of cybersecurity measures. But also the lack of transparency in AI decision making is also a problem. The other thing that we're experiencing here is integration with existing security systems and processes, but we have a problem with high computational requirements and technical expertise. Talking of the infrastructure is a place where we heavily need to put an investment. But talking of ethical considerations surrounding the use of AI in security applications, that is also one of the challenges we are experiencing. But also vulnerability to adversarial attacks is also a challenge. Potential for false positive and negative results, but also difficulty in ensuring the reliability and security of AI systems. We are experiencing also a challenge in difficulty in collecting and labeling sufficient data for training AI models. But the other thing is the need for ongoing monitoring and maintenance to ensure the continued effectiveness of AI systems. And these are some of the opportunities in AI and cybersecurity, improved threat hunting by integrating behavioral analysis, but bolstering the industrial Internet of Things or smart factory, so-called the Industry 4.0, or the AI-powered managed security services, which with profound benefits for MSPs. But the other thing is automation of human actions via AI-driven security operation centers. These are some of the use cases where AI cybersecurity can be applied. For network threat identification, we can make application of this kind of a technology, but AI for email monitoring, based antivirus software as well, user behavioral modeling or fighting AI threats. So if you want to choose an AI-based cybersecurity platform, these are some of the things that you need to consider when doing so. You have to identify what kind of resources does the system require. You have to understand how does the AI learn, what about recurring and additive costs, what volumes of data are required. Can the system adapt as your network evolves and expands? So all these things are some of the issues that really you need to look around when you are looking for the best platform. So a call to action. What needs to be done in order now to move to the next stage? First of all, we need to invest in capacity building, to prioritize the initiatives for training and developing a skilled cybersecurity workforce. We need also to establish partnerships with educational institutions and industry experts in order to create tailored programs that will address the evolving nature of cyber threats. But the other thing we need to invest on international collaboration. We need to strengthen the collaboration with international organizations, the neighboring countries as well, but also the global cybersecurity alliances by sharing the threat intelligence, the best practices, but also participating in joint initiatives. This will actually bolster the Tanzanian cybersecurity defenses. The other thing that we need to invest on is about the continuous assessment and adaptation. We need to implement a dynamic cybersecurity strategy that will actually evolve alongside technological advancements and emerging threats. But we have also to invest in public-private partnership. This is where now you foster a strong partnership between the government and private sector entities. So the joint initiatives here may include the development of cybersecurity frameworks. I think we have one. We have, if I'm not mistaken, is a cybersecurity strategy or ACTI. I think I'm not very much sure about it, but I know we have a framework that is related to that. But we also need to create information sharing platform, but working on collaborative research projects. Thank you very much. And if there is a question, you are warmly welcome. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, Dr. Migusa. We appreciate a lot for your very good presentation, very informative presentation. We thank you for the time and effort to put in developing this presentation and the will to come in this webinar and present to us. Thank you very much. We value a lot to your time and effort as what is. Thank you very much. Dr. Debola, our speaker based in the USA and has got vast experience in working with the UN organizations like WHO and the UNICEF and the others. And also on the table, we do have the recent speaker from the ARIFA, the Africa Research Institute for AI. We appreciate a lot. I have two questions for which I bring on the table. But also, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to drop your question. And if you want to speak, you can raise your hand and then we can allow you to speak directly to our speakers. My first question goes like this, Dr. Debola and Migusa. We as AI expert, we do come up with the AI models. But when we create these AI models, then we deploy them to make them learn through interactive data, through live data. But when these AI models, they interact with live data, they develop neural networks which create the performance of this AI tool beyond our prior expectation when we develop these AI models. So the performance of AI can evolve when it can create revolutions in such a way that with the neural networks which are being built in accordance with the interaction with data, we can't really anticipate the performance of these AI which can be presented in the future. So how do you tell the webinar, ladies and gentlemen, the participants in the webinar, how can we prepare ourselves to counteract the catastrophic risk which can be presented in the future, but which can be brought by these AI tools? The second question is, I've read over social media that Elon Musk said over the 3 decades coming, over the 30 years coming, we'll be having more robots than human beings in this planet, in such a way that Elon Musk said that in such a way that in the production area, we might not be needing human beings, but these AI robots can just replace human beings. And there's such a way that for income based, it has been introduced that we should introduce universal basic income, which can cover people and citizens to sustain their life in such a way that to boost the productivity by replacing robots instead of human beings. How are we prepared to such a kind of lifestyle? Over to you, Dr. Debola, and then we go to the compliment.
Thank you very much, sir, and thanks again for the opportunity to discuss this. I guess I'll start with the second question, which really is an ethical question, but because it is ethical, we will also recognize the socio-political dimensions of that. In the event where certain industries shut down, and it's not new, right? For a long time in the West, there has been significant outsourcing of both manufacturing and even service capabilities to other parts of the world. So it's not first time that an industry would just disappear, right? Either because their jobs have moved to another country or the product that they used to produce is no longer in demand. The question then is, what is the role of the society and what is the role of government to support individuals when that happens? I guess there are two questions here, though. Will it happen? I think it's just part of the normal progression of life, right? When e-commerce came and people could have things delivered to their doorsteps without them having to go to the shops, some businesses would suffer, right? So I feel we should not, however, underestimate the human capacity to, I would say, evolve with the trends. And yes, it is true that AI will lead to the loss of some jobs, but it will also lead to the creation of some jobs. And so it is really important that everybody be prepared for that level of change. How can I reinvent myself? How can I look for ways to take my current skill sets and upgrade them for the environment in which I live? So that's one. The question about preparing for the threats that AI will produce, that's the risk management strategy we talked about. And it is, and we could sort of go into detail of what the different kinds of risks are. I know Dr. Dennis did mention a number of those too. The idea here is that you consistently monitor for those risks and have a response to them. And so under the response side, like I said, you could either avoid or accept, mitigate, or transfer. But the first step is identifying those risks and understanding that they are real, what is causing them, and then preparing for a response to them. Thank you.
Thank you a lot, Dr. Debola. You're welcome. You're welcome, participant. Do you have any question? Go ahead.
So can I proceed?
Yes, proceed, Dr. Mugisa.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. President of Tahia. Now, according to your questions, that you asked two questions. The first one, if I am not mistaken, you asked about the AI models, the advanced neural networks becoming more autonomous, and having the capability of interacting with real-time data, which can actually lead to unpredictable changes. So you ask if they are not properly controlled. Now you are being worried that this will lead to the catastrophic scenarios, which is very true. And then what needs to be done in order to prevent such disasters? I think, first of all, we need to have a strict AI governance and regulations. We need to have these frameworks which are very strict. The governments and global organizations as well, they need to establish the clear, enforceable laws on AI development while ensuring ethical use and transparency as well. So here we are talking of the compliance in terms of AI safety, but also the usage restrictions, especially for high risk AI applications. But the other thing, we need to invest on robust AI alignment techniques. So AI should be aligned with human values and goals as well. And this can be achieved by using the reinforcement learning with human feedback to ensure that AI makes decisions that align with the ethical principles. But also talking of inverse reinforcement learning, the IRL. This will allow the AI to learn human values by observing the behavior. So we need to do that as well. But the other thing maybe is the continuous human AI collaboration. So rather than letting the AI evolve independently, we have to keep humans in the loop. This one will include having a hybrid decision-making models whereby AI can assist, but doesn't fully control the critical systems. And yeah, we also need to have ethical use of AI in military and critical infrastructure, because now talking of AI in military, it can do worse. So this is what the thing that we have to look around. The ban autonomous weapons, we have to ban that one, but also we need to have a limit AI access to nuclear or to the cyber warfare systems. So these are some of the things that we need to do. But now talking of the second question, and now referring to Elon Musk, what he talked about with the rapid advancement of AI and robotics in production in 30 years, where are we going to be? Because we might indeed have more robots than humans, workers in industries. But the thing is, are we prepared for that? So some critical areas that we need to think about. First of all, we need to have the workforce transition and scaling. We need to have many traditional jobs, the fact that will be automated. Then we need to workers now to acquire some new skills in order to adapt to the new roles that will be coming. But we need to invest in the skilling programs for workers to focus on AI management, the robotics maintenance, and creative problem solving. So we have now to have a knowledge on how to deal with these AI-related things. But also now ethical and legal regulations as well. We need to understand who will be responsible if a robot makes a mistake. We need to understand how do we ensure fair wages and opportunities in a robot-dominated workforce. But the regulations must ensure the ethical AI use, preventing the mass job losses without safety nets. Okay, but the last thing that I'll talk about is the human-robot collaboration. We have these robots which are called cobotics, yeah? The collaborative sort of robots, yeah? Because the future is not just about robots replacing humans, but it's about working alongside them, working with the robots. Yeah? The cobotics, the cobots that I talked about, will require human for oversight, for creativity and decision making. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Damigusa. Time is not our side. Ladies and gentlemen, I have not seen any question on the chat. And may I use this opportunity to appreciate all of you, ladies and gentlemen, the participants of this webinar. We appreciate a lot for your time and effort which you have deserved to come and attend this webinar. Thank you very much. On behalf of Tanzania Health and Matters Association and the partners which have co-organized this webinar, we appreciate a lot for your time. May I take the last minute just to appreciate the transformative power of AI, which is changing and shaping this world and assisting us in a very speedy advantage which we are realizing from pharmaceutical industry, from the inventing of the vaccines, the inventing of different medicine, and coming up with in shaping the manufacturing industry. We have brought a lot of advantage using AI. Thank you very much, and may I welcome Dr. Migusa and Adebola. I'm giving you just 1 minute each to give a final closing remark before we end up our webinar. Over to you, Dr. Adebola. Just 1 minute as a closing remark and call takeaway for the participant. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I think I would say we should all embrace this moment. It is definitely a time of rapid technological evolution and change. It is not in our own interest to be scared of what is impending, but to do our best to dip our toes into this and actually be a part of this change. There are multiple opportunities for capacity building learning. Information is more democratized than it has ever been. So we can go ahead and learn and be a part of this. Thank you. Change. Thank you.
You're welcome, Dr. Adebola. Over to you, Migusa.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What I would say is that we are in the right direction. I like the fact now talking of the readiness is there already, but we really need to invest on capacity building and making sure, especially the decision makers, that are very well capacitated to understand what really AI is. Even when we are building these kind of frameworks, then we build what we know and we regulate what we know, because there is nothing as bad as regulating the unknown. So we need to invest heavily on that, but also we need to keep on these kind of initiatives, engaging ourselves in the conferences, the workshops, and the everything to collaborate, to gain more knowledge, etc., etc. And I think you understand that even at Arifa, we have an AI conference coming on the 29th and 30th of May 2025 at 4 Points by Sheraton New Africa Hotel. So it's going to be one of the great conferences because we are going to bring experts from the giant companies that you know, name it, be it Google, Facebook, or whatever, will be there to provide some insights on AI and future of work. So it's called International Conference on AI and the Future of Work. So if you go around our social media profiles, then you'll get to have more information about it. So karibuni sana, asante sana.
You're welcome, Tamegusa. We appreciate a lot, all of us, for attending this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, the recording of this webinar will be shared within a few days to come on our website, and we shall share the recording link and the PowerPoint presentation of our website, and we shall share this through our social media channels. We appreciate a lot. I have seen Madam Consolata said the change is inevitable, and really is really inevitable. And in Tanzania Health Informatics Association, we have a motto saying innovating for better health. We really have to innovate for better health. Thank you a lot, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate a lot for your time and effort reserving to this conference. Dr. Migusa shared the link for the conference over the chat. You can just click it and you can subscribe over the conference which is upcoming. Thank you. We appreciate a lot for your coming and your participation in this webinar. Thank you very much. See you over our next series of webinar on April. Goodbye. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye. Asante.
Asante.